All right. Good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome to the Milpark School of Financial Services Financial Planning Department information session this afternoon. Very welcome to those who have joined us. Thank you for taking out the time to gather some information about our programs. We are very excited to share what we have on offer with everyone in attendance this afternoon. Before we jump right into it, I just want to let you know that this is an interactive session. It is a conversation. The three of us, I will introduce the panel shortly, but we are here to converse with you as attendees. So any questions, burning questions you've got about any of the financial planning programs offered through Milpark in the School of Financial Services, this is your opportunity to ask us. We can give you the information that you might have a hard time to find, and you can just engage with us. We really welcome the interaction and we do enjoy talking to the attendees. So that invitation is open. And then, yes, let me take a brief moment to introduce myself, and then I will also introduce you to my esteemed colleagues who are joining me on the panel for this discussion this afternoon. My name is Leanne Ferreira. I head up the Financial Planning Department and, of course, then oversee all the programs that we offer in terms of financial planning within our school. I'm going to then introduce you to one of the probably most important key role players in our programs. Samantha Samuels is joining us this afternoon, and she is a program manager on two of the qualifications that we are going to be talking about, the Higher Certificate in Financial Planning and the Advanced Certificate in Financial Planning. So Samantha, you can introduce yourself and perhaps tell the audience, those that are listening that have no idea what a program manager is or does, yes, how you fit in, and just tell us more about your role.
Sure. Good afternoon, Leanne. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here and having me here. As Leanne has mentioned, my name is Samantha. I am a program manager of two of the qualifications, which is our Higher Certificate in Financial Planning, NQF5, as well as the Advanced Certificate in Financial Planning, which is the NQF6. Besides that, I am also an active current student of Milpark, so better than anyone, I can give you experience from both a PM, which is your program manager's role, and that of a student, okay?
Fantastic.
So as a program manager, basically, we are here to serve the student. We are the middle person between the student, the lecturers, the support team, any administrative task that you are not sure of. You can reach out to the program manager. So we know everything is done online, everything is technological driven. However, there is a human that is actually sitting behind a desk overseeing your qualification. So each qualification has a program manager assigned to it. Our role basically, like I said, is if you're not sure of anything, if you don't know where to go, if you have questions, you're most welcome to reach out to us. If it's something that I as a program manager can help you with, no problem. If it's something out of my domain, I will escalate it, find out for you. But my primary role is to ensure that the student know what they're doing. If they need help with the registrations, if they're unsure and they need guidance, I'm basically there to ensure that you stay on path, stay on track, and complete your studies so that we can see you graduate at the end of the day. That's our goal ultimately.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, there are many more program managers like Samantha, and if you listen to her talking, you know that their passion is to be there for the students. So that is definitely one of the key roles and important things that we do offer with our programs, be it in the online virtual environment. As Samantha said, there's somebody behind the screen with a name. You can say, "Good day, Samantha," and she will actually reply to your email. So that is definitely something that we know that students need and that they place a lot of value at. All right, so Harry, over to you. Will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So So when I'm not busy dreaming up camping holidays or trying to think up things to do with my kids, I teach financial planning at Milpark. I've been around, they've tolerated me for a number of years, so I know many of the systems. I've taught on many of the programs that we're going to be talking about today. And currently, I teach at postgraduate level and also on the advanced certificate in financial planning. I really love what I'm doing. I love helping students. And I'm the like academic oversight manager of the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. So that's the one. If you want to become a certified financial planner professional, that's the one that you're aiming for. So I oversee that kind of from a strategic academic perspective. But if you've got any complaints, please rather go to Samantha. So she she handles all the difficult complaints. No, I'm just kidding. But it's more an academic function. It's not that one of us outranks the other one. It's I look at academic queries and administrative stuff like I didn't get my study guide, or I can't get in, or I'm struggling with admission. You know, we've got people like Samantha on the postgraduate diploma. We've got Wadia Dramat, who's been with Milpark for ages. And she's like 15 years long service award. So she really knows her way around. Yeah, and that's the team, and we support each other and try and keep our students happy and yeah, get them to enjoy the studies as well.
Thank you, Harry. Yes, so that is the aim at the end of the day, is that when you embark on this journey to earn a qualification in financial planning, it should not only be enjoyable, but it should add value to you as a student. So on that note, Harry quickly mentioned, the sought after designation. He mentioned CFP. So what is also worth noting, and that's not only on our postgraduate diploma, but across the programs that we are going to be discussing within a couple of minutes, is that 90% of our team are certified financial planner professionals, and they come with a lot of industry experience. So you are taught by experts in their relative fields. They have also walked the walk. They know exactly what it takes to get to qualifying yourself, and overall, every one of us working so hard every day to contribute to professionalizing the financial planning industry at the end of the day. And how do we play our part? As academics, of course, we are passionate about that, but then as Milpark as well, we offer an array of financial planning specific programs within our department. So we are going to talk you through the pathway of the programs that we have on offer. So if any of these programs look appealing to you and you do have any questions about that, pop it in the chat. Later on, I'll also give an opportunity if you actually want to, ask the question to us. We can talk about it. So you're also welcome to hold on to that until a little bit later. But please, we are monitoring the chat. So you are more than welcome to ask us questions as we go along. So I see some of our attendees are also already fast forwarding to exams. So we're not, you need to first walk the path to get there. But on that note, we offer all our qualifications online. We are a distance learning institution, which means that you study at your own pace in your own time. We recognize that students that do enroll for financial planning programs are 10 out of 10 times working in the industry. This is part-time studies that they are embarking on. So they really need something that is flexible, that is tailored towards part-time studies, having that flexibility to do it within your own time, but of course with support of the institution and people like our panel members this afternoon, where we have lecturers, we have program managers, we have different role players that are there to support you. So before I start with our programs, Harry, it looked like you wanted to say something, or am I imagining myself?
No, I wanted to say we can organize some exams next week, but I think that's going to be a little bit too quick for Justine. So
All right. So let's see. I've decided we are not going to take you through slideshows or a lot of information. You can actually find, we'll post this PDF for you in the chat as well for easy reference. But what we are looking at is basically a screenshot of what we offer in terms of financial planning programs. And I love the way that we've actually also said this on our own sheet. It goes from foundation to expert. So we offer the entire pathway from the beginning, the platform, setting the foundation for a financial planning qualification, but then all the way through, and I'll quickly show you, but we're going to talk about all of our programs, but to get you, if that is your aim, to the sought after designation of certified financial planner professional. So we offer the entire suite, and we can start off, we've got from NQF level 5 all the way through to NQF level 8. If that is also a very foreign term to you, on our website we also have a fantastic infographic that explains NQF levels. So our programs actually start at level 5, and your options there are either your higher certificate in financial products or then your higher certificate in financial planning. So the product qualification is basically where that foundation starts. So that is our platform offering, where a student would, for example, exactly as the name say, we actually start from the ground up. The scaffolding starts there. We teach you about financial planning, the industry, but we go all the way down to the basics, which is the products. So this qualification on an NQF level 5 is really suited for your new entrance into the financial planning industry. And I know that a lot of financial planners I talk to, if you ask them, how did you end up in financial planning or being a financial planner, or how did you end up in this industry? 9 out of 10, it's always a different story, but the same conclusion. It found me, like I took a different path, and the next thing I knew, I was in financial planning. It's one of those things that very few go out and study right after school. This is my profession of choice. It finds people. And I know that a lot of our students that do enroll with us will tell us the same thing. So now I'm in this position. I've found this profession that I'm absolutely passionate about. I love financial planning, but I realized that I need to earn the qualification for me to actually grow my career in the industry. So if that is you, if that's where you've started out, you need to build up basic knowledge, perhaps in an administrative position as well. So you are exposed to financial planning concept terms, you hear it in the office every day, but you need to then build your knowledge from scratch. So that's where our high certificate in financial products will kick you off. If you are a little bit more experienced, if you really are at a place where you are more leaning towards falling into the planning and how you can get involved to be of more assistance perhaps to another advisor, or you are also on your way to becoming an advisor, but you need your NQF 5, then you would be looking at the high certificate in financial planning. So that's where we start with the legislative groundwork, and then we scaffold from there into the different modules that will cover all the different silos we've got in financial planning, but still very at a foundation platform type of level where we introduce you to planning, but we are not going into a lot of technical or advanced detail yet. So those are your two programs where you find yourself, if you are really just starting out in the industry, you need to start your qualification. You might not have any qualifications, you need to build that up. That is exactly where you will start. Over to you, Harry. Make a comment.
So firstly, just an apology. I called Justin Justine
Oh, no.
when I spoke earlier. So I'm sorry about that, Justin. I'm better with financial planning terms than people's names. So yeah, it is late in the afternoon. All of us have had a full day. So, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. So I just, on the difference between the highest cert in products and planning, the entry requirements are almost exactly the same. And I think for most of you in this session, I'm guessing that most of you should actually look at the planning one, the more advanced one. The certificate in products was, the idea behind that program was, like Leanne said, maybe you're just in a straight admin position. You don't ever want to get into planning, or people that are just involved in like very basic products, like funeral policies, or people to sit in a, you work in a car dealership and you sell life insurance to cover the outstanding bond on your, not bond, the outstanding loan on your car. So that's more the certain products. The certain financial planning has the benefit that it meets the qualification requirement, the legal one, not the Financial Planning Institute one, of the FASE Act. So if you want to be registered there's a legal requirement, and one of those requirements are it's some experience, CPD, and qualification, and the higher certificate of financial planning meets those categories. If you do it, you can, it meets that requirement. You can start practicing on your own and not under supervision. So just the two of them, but I think most of the people in this session would be in the certificate in financial planning category.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. And just as Harry said, you can also see here that you're completing your higher certificate in financial planning then gives you right of way to apply for the Financial Planning Institute's entry-level designation when it comes to financial planning, which is the registered financial practitioner. So that would then assist with that. And then I am going to ask Harry to just take you through our NQF level 6, 7, and 8 qualifications. So after completion of the highest cert, if you are embarking on this journey to really make your way through, building your knowledge, becoming more of an expert, delving into it more technically and in greater depth, this is the rest of the pathway that will really assist you. So Harry is going to talk to us through our advanced certificate, our BCom that we've got that majors in financial planning, and then of course the cream of the crop, the postgraduate diploma in financial planning. So if you'll take us through that, Harry, that will be a very good conversation starter as well.
All right, so the advanced certificate in financial planning is our next step up, and it's an interesting qualification, and I think a little bit underrated. Everybody's like, well, why do I need to do this one? What does it give me? And I think that the main categories, what we get here, so is somebody that's been in industry for a while. They've done a higher certificate, they're a practicing financial advisor, but they kind of feel like, I often have to ask the legal advisor for help with my planning, or I just want to go a bit further, or I want to build out my reputation. A lot of people want to become certified financial planners, and the advanced certificate is a very nice next step towards the CFP designation, towards the postgraduate diploma in financial planning qualification. It's got a similar structure to the postgraduate diploma of financial planning. You do all your modules, and then you end up with a case study module. So nice and practical. You get a case study scenario, and you have to evaluate that and give advice. The other thing that we also get on the advanced certificate in financial planning is we get managers, because of course not everybody sits in financial advice. There's a lot of people who manage teams of financial advisors, and they're like, are these guys lying to me, or do I know enough? Advanced Certificate of Financial Planning is good for that, you know, and it's surprisingly, it's a challenging one. And I've had a couple of mishaps with people in the past where they thought it would be an easy qualification, and then they're like, oh, you know, I really have to put in some effort here. It's very focused on financial planning. It's only got financial planning modules. And it differs from, that's how it differs from the BCom in financial planning. I mean, the advanced certificate, you can finish it in a year, although I think at the moment most people do it over a year and a half because they're working, don't have enough time. But the BCom is a 3-year qualification, and it's a generalist qualification. So you do accounting and legal stuff and marketing, and you know, it's the purpose is different. And you got to kind of think about what you need. If I left school right now, I'd probably do a BCom. You know, that works for me. But we get people who already have BComs or who have another bachelor's degree who come, and on top of that, then they go to the advanced certificate. And you mustn't look at the qualification and say, oh, it's a lower level than the one I've done before. Okay, it has a very specific purpose. And people often do something like, I've got a BCom in marketing, then I do my advanced certificate, and then I go to the PG Diploma Financial Planning. The advanced certificate prepares you very nicely for that. And of course, you've got the benefit of registering as a member of the Financial Planning Institute. So for those of you that wondered, the Financial Planning Institute is the one that certifies certified financial planners in South Africa. They're like the main industry body. And they also have these lower designations. And there's already a benefit to you, I think, in registering, even if you're at the financial services advisor level or the registered financial practitioner level, you know, to become members. And it's good networking, and they do set, if you want to be proud of your industry, the Financial Planning Institute, they're kind of the standard bearers for us in that area. They set ethical standards. They engage with the regulators. They're very active in industry. And I know for many of us, you start working at a business, and the aim of the business is to make money. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But for many of us, we feel like there's a little bit of a gap, and I want my work to mean something. And the Financial Planning Institute, I think, brings that in very nicely. And we partner very closely with that. Sorry, Komotso, I see you're asking what a PGDFP is. It's the Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Planning. So let's talk about that, because I know Justin's he's interested in the Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Planning, but really you want to register as certified financial planner practitioners. And I think there would be a number of people in the session who are interested in that. Can I just see, can everybody who wants to know more about the Postgraduate Diploma of Financial Planning, just give me a thumbs up or something in the chat. I say, okay, there's a hand up, Justin. There's another thumbs up. Lots of thumbs ups. Okay, great. So for those that don't know, if you want to register as a certified financial planner or a CFP professional, you've got to, the body that registers you is the Financial Planning Institute. Okay, so you register with them. The Financial Planning Institute has 4 requirements for somebody to register as a CFP professional. And one of those, one is ethics. You have to have experience, you have to pass the entry course, the capstone course, and you have to have a qualification. So the postgraduate diploma meets the qualification requirement. Okay. And often people, I know in industry, we talk about this. We say like, I'm going to do my CFP. The FBI hates that, by the way. They don't want you to talk about, I'm doing my CFP. It's, you do your postgraduate diploma, and then you register as a certified financial planner professional once you qualify. So that's how we fit into that picture. We do the qualification requirement, we do all the technical training, all the background training, and then they certify that, and they look at your experience and work closely with your employer. And I think the next question was Justin asked, well, how do the exams work? So I'm sort of going to hit all of the qualifications at once. most of our qualifications are still on a normal 2-semester-a-year structure. So you write exams in May, June, and October, November, roughly. And that would be true for our higher certificate in financial planning, for our advanced certificate in financial planning, and for our BCom, for the most part. We do that. The higher certificate in financial products has multiple cycles throughout the year where you write an exam. But like I said, I don't think there'd be much. If you've got questions about that, we're happy to answer it at the end. I'm rather going to talk about the certified, the postgraduate diploma structure, because that is quite unique in what we're doing here. And the PGD in financial planning, Leanne, I wonder if I can. I wonder if it would make sense for me to. I want to open like a fact sheet or a timetable and share that. We spoke about the overall structure. Is that okay?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay. Are you going to share the fact sheet or should I?
I'll share it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So what we did a couple of years ago is we said, well, your traditional postgraduate diploma structure is, you do your environment, which is all your legal and tax stuff. Then you do personal financial planning, which has all your capital needs analysis. And it's quite, Leanne, if we can scroll down to where we've got the module breakdown.
There we go.
There we go. So, and your personal financial planning module was quite a big module with a lot of technical content. You do estate planning and then you do investment planning, and they are not really related. It's almost separate fields of study, and they were very heavy. And then your corporate financial planning deals with financial planning for businesses and EB kind of situations. And then your case study is where you put everything together. Lovely module where you start, it starts to feel real and practical. And what we did is we broke it, the personal financial planning module into 3 modules. So we focus on risk and estate planning, then we focus on retirement planning, and then we focus on investment planning, one at a time, because it's a lot to take in at a time. Also, what we then found out a couple of years ago is that students struggled with their basics when they go to the PG Dip of financial planning. So take somebody who's I've got a medical schemes representative on the PG Dip right now. And, that's what he does. He does medical schemes. That's his bread and butter, but he wants the designation, the certified financial planner stuff. And so he hasn't done tax, like income tax, in many years. And when's the last time he's worked with like a state calculated executives fees or estate planning, all of those things are a little bit rusty. And so we put a module together, our induction module. It's non-credit bearing, so it doesn't count towards your final one, but you have to pass it before you can do the rest of the modules. And what we refresh in that is all your product knowledge, because sometimes you just forget or you just don't know, you don't know, if you've been in the EB space for a long time, you may not know what an endowment is or a sinking fund or how that works. And so we refresh your knowledge on that. Then we refresh your tax knowledge. Listen, tax changes every year. So if you haven't done it like very recently, then you won't be able to answer the tax stuff. And then we do the one that everybody's scared of, time value of money calculations, all right? There's something about South Africans. It's like maths. When you see maths, you're like, oh, no, I don't think I can do this. Time value of money calculations, it's the same in financial planning. So we refresh that in the induction course. So it's a nice entry. And then you're only allowed to do one module at a time. So you focus on one area at a time. The modules are between, I think, 9 and 11 weeks or 8 and 10 weeks at a time. So we've got 5 of those cycles running in the year. So Justin, that starts answering your question. So we've got 5 exam opportunities, and not all the modules run in every cycle. But it really works, this intensive structure. We do you sit down, you got the first 6 or 7 weeks, you've got a mini assessment every week. You've got an online test or an assignment or something that you do every week, and it keeps you focused. And we find that works for students that work full time. You know, when I did my postgraduate diploma many years ago, it was like, there you go, you've got 4 modules for the whole year, and you've kind of got to decide when to spend time on what, you know, and you're like, a little bit of this, and then you've got an assignment for that, and yeah, you get confused. So we found it works very nice. You focus on that one area at a time. You get into, like, really, you can really go into depth and establish your basic principles, your understanding. You write an exam and that's done. So we've got set exam dates, Justin, in those 5 cycles, and all of our modules run at least twice a year. I can tell you now the one thing, and we're working, listen, we're also always working on the structure, but if you're studying next year, this is what it looks like. The one drawback is you can't finish in a single year. Okay, we're looking at ways to change that, but because it takes a little bit, because we go into so much depth, you can't do that it's difficult to squeeze it into a year. But it's not really dissimilar to, you know, if you work for, let's say, one of the approved practices, their minimum experience requirement for an approved practice is a 1.5 years. I think the Financial Planning Institute requires 3 years experience before you can register as a CFP professional. I stand to be corrected on that, but it aligns very nicely with what the approved practices also think is the minimum time that you need to spend to get through your course. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Justin. I see Justin asked, okay, Leanne's answered it. So lectures live or pre-recorded. So all of our modules, we've got some live stuff, but we record the live stuff in any way. So the idea is that it's nice if you can attend a live session, but if you really can't, that's fine. You can watch it later. I wonder if we should start taking questions now, Leanne. Hello? Okay, it looks like Leanne is frozen. So let's just, the next question is to Lani. Is there an order of studying, or can we mix the modules after induction? Good question, Tulani. So the we prefer a certain, so normally it works best if you do environment first. Environment covers your tax stuff again, and you kind of need that knowledge to you know, to go further, you know, you use it in all of the other modules. So we prefer after induction that you go to environment. And then the second thing that we recommend is you do retirement planning and before you do investment planning. Hello back, Leanne.
I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
Right. So retirement planning and investment planning has got similar analyses, but investment planning goes more into the investment structures, and we find it works a little bit better if students do retirement planning first and they are comfortable with their analysis. And then the only other requirement is that you must at least have attempted one of the other modules before you, all of the other modules before you do case study. Makes sense, right? You know, you want to do all your different technical areas before you try and put it together. So, so that's normally what we do. Samantha, that's a very good point. Don't you want to tell them, Samantha, what your the point you just made about the study plan?
Okay, no problem at all. So, Tulani, what happens is once you've been admitted to the qualification, right, you will receive an admissions letter. There is a structure in which we recommend, like Khiria said now, you know, certain modules that you need to register in a certain order. You will be issued on the postgrad with a study plan, which will outline and say, okay, in block 1, we offer these modules. So you need to start with induction. Once you've passed that, in cycle 2, you need to do the postgrad environment module. So we do outline for you, you know, the cycles and which modules you should register for in a cycle. We also have our registrations team that's available. If you're unsure, you can also reach out to your program manager via a help desk. But there is basically a structure because case study, as on the postgrad and the advanced certificate, it is your final module. So you cannot register for case study if you've not completed and passed all other modules, because all modules basically links up to your case study module. So yes, there is a structure, but we will guide you through the whole process with a study plan as well.
So sorry, Samantha, I just want to, are you talking about the advanced certificate there? Or
Both,
the
because there's both. Remember the practical,
I-
on the advanced certificate and the case study on the postgrad. They both have to
Yeah.
be registered final modules.
So on the
Sorry.
postgrad, you don't have to pass all the other modules before you can do case study. You just have to have done it at least once. So if you fail investment planning, you can go on to case study, but then you'll have to finish investment planning later. I also think, so one thing we try and do from Milpark side is we try and make it easy for students. So you heard now, you get a study plan. So when you register and you start studying, I don't want you to spend too much time thinking about what order modules or whatever. Just follow the plan as far as you can. And the modules are set up like that as well. You know, we've got I didn't realize this until earlier this year. Some students said to me, one of the things we like most is the structure and the study plan we give you. So even on our lower qualifications, there's a study plan for the whole semester. And you don't have to stick to it, but if you do, you'll get through all the content, you'll have enough time. So you just have to get the studying done. You know, we'll help you with the structure and, you know, making sure you get through all of the content. I saw that Justin had his hand up. Justin, do you actually want to ask a question over the mic? Okay, it's been answered. Fantastic. There was another question earlier about the advanced cert. Ooh, was that Tulani, I think? Oh, there we go. Wow. Is it Swabi? Please tell me if I pronounced that right or not. We asked, after the advanced certificate, can one go to the postgraduate diploma? So Samantha's given you the very nice, you know, extensive answer there. Short answer is yes, it's possible. We kind of do look at your experience as well, together with, and you got to try and do, we tend to take the students that do best on the advanced certificate onto the PGDIP. But tell you what, something about our qualifications that we realized is that our advanced certificate students, if you go from the advanced certificate to the PGDIP, they are some of our very best students. We have no issues with having them on. It prepares you very well for the postgraduate diploma. So it's very, very good idea to do it that way. So yeah, we do take, and we're restricted. So the next question is going to come up is recognition of prior learning. All right, so sometimes you don't meet the entry requirements. You've only got a level 5 and a level 6, but you want to go and do the postgraduate diploma. Now, generally speaking, in financial planning, do you remember that graph that Leanne showed at the beginning? You have to go, you do one level after the other. Start at level 5, go to level 6, go to level 7. But if you've got enough experience, you can bypass that, because there's, you know, we want to recognize the experience that you have. It counts for something, that if you've actually worked in industry, and many of our students are in that category. And so, you know, we look at that. Unfortunately, legislation restricts us at the moment to 10% of our intake. So we can only take 10%. That's why we encourage students to do as well as they can on the advanced certificate. But here's the news flash. We're growing our student numbers, and we managed to take in almost our entire cohort of RPL applicants this year. We've just finished that. There were a couple that just, you know, that I was just uncomfortable. You know, we want to take on as many as we can, but we also have to protect students. We don't want you to waste your money if you're not there and you're not going to make the qualification. So please bear with us if you get one of those, or, I think you must do the advanced first before doing the PGDIP. It's not because we want to hold you back. Okay, we love students getting onto it and completing it, but you may waste your money. And over the years, we've learned what to look for, what type of students do well, which don't do well. And so we kind of look at that and like, you might be wasting your money, or we give you a conditional admission and say, listen, it's fine, we'll give you a shot, do your induction and environment. But if you don't pass them, go do your advanced certificate first. It's going to be better for you. We spoke a couple of months ago, we sat with the chairman of the Financial Planning Institute, Lalani Bezuidenhout, and she actually said, listen, sometimes it's better to take longer and get your foundation right than rush through things, And I know many of us have got this, we've got these career plans and we want to, build our career and become these super financial planners. But if we ask you to do a more basic qualification first, just be patient. We really try and give you the best chance of success. And if we see something there, it's because we've got good reason to say, look, we're actually trying to help you. Remember, from our side, it's better for us to take more money rather than turn you away. So
Thanks, Harry. Yeah, I think that really gave us a good idea of the programs where, as we mentioned, I think the majority of our audience could be interested in and would find some value. Are there any questions? We are more than happy to take questions if you don't want to post it in the chat. Thank you for those that have been participating and asking your questions in the chat. And thank you, Samantha is on it. She is giving you all the information that you need. Remember, our website also has wonderful, all the fact sheets, in fact, that relates to every program can be downloaded from the website as well. So that will give you all the information that we're discussing, but then program specific. So it will tell you what the admission requirements for every single program is. It will give you a breakdown of the modules, like the one we've looked at for the postgrad. What is also interesting is that a lot of our programs, actually, yes, from the high cert, the advanced, not the postgrad, but those two also include electives. And we might have people in the industry that do have specific niche interests. So, for example, on the higher certificate in financial planning, we have relaunched this year our retirement fund administration elective module. So that is a very nice module to then choose for those that do work in retirement fund administration. So there are options. On the advanced certificate, we have a trust law elective. If you are more interested in that area, there is a business management for financial planners. So that is a module that is enjoyed by those that want to start their own practices, maybe go independent, etc. So we do not just only offer, the foundation that we know you need, but we've really put a lot of thought into the modules that we put on offer in a specific program. So we could spend the whole evening to go through all of that, but I would encourage you, if there is a specific program that, sounds suitable, go download the fact sheet, go look at the modules that are on offer in that program and how it is just specifically tailored, to meet the outcomes that we have set for that specific program. I don't see any hands raised. I think most of you are more comfortable in the chat, but that's also not a problem. Komotso, we will do that. It's going to take us a while. There's a number of them, but we can take you to the School of Financial Services landing page at least. Yes, Harry, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
I was actually hoping. So I see there's one other people in the meeting is called Francois Note Taker. I wonder if we can get I don't know if it's Francois or his assistant. So I wonder if we can get a question from them. I just thought about something else that's a little different about Mopark, and that might work for you or not. I'm glad somebody else enjoyed my joke too. So uh, the other thing about Mopark is that you don't have to wait for the start of the year to get admitted to a program. You can start studying for our semester programs. There are two intakes in a year, so you can actually apply any time of the year, and then we'll just pop you onto the next semester. But for the postgraduate diploma, we've got the 5 cycles, and the induction module runs in every single cycle. So I think it might be touch and go if you want to be admitted for the next cycle, because it starts next week, I think, or the week after that. So if you want to use, you really need to jump on. But it's very nice that you don't have to wait till the beginning of the year for an intake or whatever. You can start whenever you want to. And the other thing that's nice about the structure is that you sometimes you can skip a cycle. Now, we don't always recommend it. It's nice to go through with your cohort. You get into a rhythm, and you start to get to know the people that you study with. So that also adds value. Actually, that adds a lot of value. I forgot to mention that earlier, but the other thing about Mopark is a lot of our students work full time, and they work in different areas, and you can learn so much from each other. And I think it's a benefit for the working ones to bounce ideas, but also for students that don't have that much experience. You're probably sitting with people in class that have 8 or 10 years experience, even on the lower level programs, and you can learn a lot from them. Anyway, so a digressing thought. But the idea is to on the skipping a cycle. Sometimes you've got something like financial year end, or you've got a big conference or something. And if you're studying through a traditional model, you're going to lose a couple of weeks or whatever during that time. With this model, we kind of that's fine. You just skip registration for that one. And because we have some more modules, there is a degree of flexibility. Like we said earlier, we like you to do this one first and then go to that one. But you can swap some of them around, and you can talk to the program manager about what makes sense, and maybe skip a cycle. Or the other thing that sometimes happens is life. Your first, but I've got a student now who's got. We're gonna help him again next year. Who's just his first child is born, and he said to me, "Listen, Gerrie, I haven't slept. I sleep 3 hours a night. It's just terrible, And so it's fine. We said it's fine. Wait, we'll help you again next year. And we know stuff like this happens, so it doesn't. It's almost like sprint sessions. These focused 6 to 8 weeks intense studying, and then you write the exam, you finish it off, and then you go on to whatever's next.
Yeah, that also speaks to, the flexibility that I've touched on earlier, not just with the way you study, but then also just with options, we know how challenging it is ourselves. As Samantha also said, she's studying while working. So we understand what time management looks like and how we can support and assist you with that, and that flexibility to really fit your studies in with your life. So we could perhaps also just, go into a little bit more detail. What does a typical semester look like? I know that there were now a lot of questions in the chat. Yes, we've got, for example, a set exam date. So if you are registered for a certain module, you will know at the beginning of the semester, this is the plan, not just what I'm studying, but these are my important dates. So there will be due dates for tests, assignments, which make up your formative work. And then you've got a set exam date. So you will be able, and you have those dates for both semesters at the beginning of the year. So when you do register for a module, you can plan. You can plan when my exam is, how much time I have. The flexibility comes in, and the part-time studying comes in with your responsibility of covering your content that we've put together for you to get you, for example, to your first test, to take you to your second test, to get you to complete your assignment. And I think it was Justin that also asked in the chat, is it pre-recorded sessions or are there live sessions? So it's a fantastic combination of both. So we have live sessions in this format where you actually get to interact with your lecturer. There are on average 3 of those per semester, if we're now talking about our undergrad offering, not the postgrad. Harry went into detail. That works a little bit different with the cycles. But in your semesters, you have your live sessions with your lecturers, and then there's also pre-recorded material available that you then work through in your time when it's most suitable for you to get you through the content. And then we plan the semester with you in terms of then, delivering on those assignments, those tests, and then, of course, preparing you for the exam that we want you to successfully pass so that you can go on to the next module to then complete the program. So it really is a hybrid of you are studying at your own pace in your own time, but we support you with structure to be able to do that. But you select, do I want to study at night after work? Am I doing it early mornings? Am I squeezing it into a work weekend? You have that flexibility, yet you have support. It is absolutely paramount, and all our students tell us that, getting to know a lecturer, getting to know a program manager, knowing that there is a name associated with a module, it's not just me and the computer screen, is very important. So that was also one of the main aims of this session this afternoon, so that you could get to know some of the team that work in financial planning in the department that offer the programs, so that if you do then interact with us, you might come across now a familiar name and somebody that you could then, refer to. I see there is one of our attendees that is typing, so we'll wait to see if there is a question that arises from that. But if there is anyone that does have, the courage to ask a question, you are very welcome. I know it's easier to put something in the chat, but that is exactly why we are here, so that we can answer your questions in real time. Harry, you can add to that.
I think you that's a very good point, Leanne. We're striking that balance between, on the one hand, being flexible enough to fit into your work. Yes, you can't, it's terrible if you have to attend classes like twice in the evenings in a week. You're like, if you have a rough day, you never end up doing that. But if you just, human beings tend to just let things slide. You procrastinate, work is most important, you've got family, you've got all that. And so we mix that together. That's the Milpark mix, is we put it together where you do some studying and you do some, we force you to finish by a time, but we don't restrict you to certain times. So you'll have to sit down probably at regular times in a week and do your studying, but we don't force you to be like Tuesday afternoons 2 to 4 to 6 or whatever. It's fine, we understand that. And I think a lot of our students, if I look at it, I think most of them are doing the bulk of their studies over the weekend, and some putting in some hours like in the evenings, some early mornings, that kind of thing, and that's fine, it works. Something else that I also thought about are programs that you find across. I don't think we do it in the highest certain products, but we do it across the rest. I'm not sure, Leanne and Samantha, you can correct me here if I'm wrong. But we also offer lecturer consultations, academic consultations, and it's another. So we understand one thing, that as long as I've been with Milpark, we've been cognizant of the different learning styles. Some people are visual learners. Some people learn by listening. Others, want to read or they want to talk to people about things. That's why we've got like chat rooms on the modules that people can chat to the lectures and like test their technical knowledge. And then we also offer consults. Thursday afternoons, you can book a time slot with your lecturer. So if you really struggle with something and you're like, I actually just want to speak to somebody and ask them about the technical stuff, You can also book a session with your lecturer, and then we'll sit and talk you through the technical stuff. Please don't ask for extensions and stuff. That's Samantha's difficulty. You have got stuff like that, but we are open to help, to assist you in that way. And just something else about Milpark. So I come from a background where I started I worked for smaller companies, smaller firms, and we struggled with the banks. So I always thought people that work in banks are terrible. They are just evil and they just make your life difficult. I never worked for a big corporate until I got to Milpark, and it really did change my mind. I was really struck by how the personnel really cares about people. People like Samantha, people like Wadia. I got there and they would get up in arms and they would fight for their students. And you don't always see this because the medium between us and the students is an online medium, so it feels very far. But really, that my colleagues they really do care about you. We really do want to help you. Sometimes, we've got massive groups of students, and we have to put some policies in place to manage things so that it doesn't all go, it could go to the other side, but you don't get your results on time, and it's just, a terrible mess. So we've got to put some structure in place to make sure that we can help everybody. We don't, if we can't always help everybody in a very, very personalized way because it would be very expensive. Like I can't tutor you every week on your lessons like every student because there are 80 students in the class. Too much. But we really do care about our students, and as far as possible, we try and just cater and find a plan and help you get through your modules. We want you to pass. Graduation is the loveliest day of the year. It's when we see students who put in the hard work and that are reaping the rewards. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Samantha. Sam, I'm just going to ask one thing. Maybe you can just post in the chat. So if anyone listening or attended, would now want to find out more, maybe just some guidance from our side, which program is suitable, where would they now go? What would be their next step following, this conversation this afternoon, if they needed some help perhaps on figuring out, where they do fit in. Some of them might have a very good idea. I want to go for this qualification, but who do they get in touch with? What would be the next step? You can just post that for us in the chat. That will be very helpful. And then, yes, one last opportunity. Is there any questions? Is there perhaps a student that wanted to ask a question? If not, I think we have pretty much covered what we have set out, to have a conversation about this afternoon. We really just wanted to, obviously high level, we could spend hours, but in the hour that we had with you, we just wanted to give you that overview of the programs offered in financial planning. It's not just one option. There is different NQF levels that are suited to different needs, and we really do cover it all, offer the entire pathway to then, of course, get you to that sought after designation, if that is the way that you do want it to go. Harry, one last thought. Anything from your side?
I was just saying, as Philip has been typing forever on the chat. I just see him typing, but he hasn't gone around to asking a question. And I'm like, Philip, won't it be easier to just ask your question over the mic if you if you're willing to do that?
Philip said thank you for an insightful session.
Okay.
We will connect. So thank you very much for that. There we go. Thank you. Samantha offered her own personal email address. Thank you, Samantha. That is fantastic. That illustrates, of course, exactly what you will find. So you can say, good day, Samantha, please help me. So thank you, Samantha, as well, for you. And yes, just the role that you play in keeping all of this together. We appreciate it. Thank you for assisting in the chat so diligently. That really answered all the students' questions comprehensively. We really appreciate it. If there is no other questions, I would like to then just thank you one last time for attending our information session. To those that might be listening later, please reach out to us if there is anything that interests you and any questions that you do have. But yes, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening, and we hope to be interacting with you soon.